I want to do it because it's fun. It's fun to do bad things.
So did you know that you could perhaps kill somebody?
It's the greatest podcast in the world.
Yes, but I wanted to do hood rat stuff with my friends.
Be punished for all of this?
Just a little bit no video games for a whole weekend.
All right, we got a lot of shit to say, so
It's like what happened to the music? It died.
it's a lot of shit to say.
How's my levels?
Your levels are coming in good. What up, motherfuckers? Hey, locked and loaded Latinos. First, want to plug them. If you haven't checked them out, go follow their channel. It's Locked and Loaded Latinos. They're on right now. Tad Moyer, what up, motherfucker? Stormy, what up, fool? Joel Flores, La Prensa de Colorado, what up? My name is Edgar Antillon, and on the other side of the world is
Glorious bastard. I mean, my name is Isaac Chase.
Isaac Chase.
Isaac Chase.
And this is the Say I Won't podcast. We've been gone some time now. We've been gone,
like a month at least.
Like a month, dude. A fucking month.
Basically, we got scared and we were afraid of being canceled. So
we ran.
We were hiding. No, it was a series of very inconvenient scheduling conflicts.
Yeah.
So where were you this weekend?
This weekend I was in Orlando, Florida. The Libertarian Party had their national convention, and we participated in a panel that was put together by Gun Owners of America. Gun Owners of America set this panel up basically to discuss whether or not the 2A is really for everyone. And it wasn't a matter of like, is it? Like, it was more of a like, hey, let's talk about the issues that are going on within the 2A and how it can improve.
So this was scheduled prior to the stage 2 of the apocalypse, correct?
Yeah, this had already been scheduled. It was almost going to be canceled, but it's the Libertarians, so like, now we're going to find a spot. The original location canceled everything. They said, nah. Ironically, the second location was owned by the original location as well, so it was retarded that it happened the way it happened anyways.
So how did it go? I saw you on the panel.
Yeah. If I'm going to be completely objective, I don't think it was one of the better panels. I think it could have been better, not because of the people that were there. It's more of the circumstances, just limited people. I was off my game a little bit, so I think I could have done a little bit better. Now, old grumpy man aside, I think it went well.
Good. I actually didn't watch any of the video. I just saw a clip, or I saw you standing there talking to Maj. That's all I saw. So
I can tell you exactly what that joke was too.
Okay.
Oh, you want the joke? I just said I could tell you.
I'm trying to find a link for this event. Do you have a link?
I have the video. I can give you the video because I recorded it. But if you guys go to Hank Strange's Facebook page, and I think he also has it on his YouTube channel. If you guys go hit up Hank Strange, he was one of the panelists, and his amazing wife Lola Strange. That's a weird last name, huh? Strange. you got
It's not weird at all.
Lola recorded it and streamed it live. I believe Antonia also did it, but I think she did IG live. So those don't hang around. But yeah.
All right, I found it here, and I am posting links to all this stuff on our website, sayIwon't.live. This will be season 3, episode 9. So that's where we put the show notes now, because we're all organized and stuff, and so you'll see it there. How was Orlando? I know you love. I know you love South Florida in the summertime.
Fucking hate him. Orlando was yeah, it's like pre-ocean, dude. Like we don't walk there. Like you're fucking kind of like swimming. Like it just, dude, I've got pictures. The windows at the hotel room, this was insane. I've been to humid places. I've been to San Diego. I've been to Chicago.
Wait. San Diego's not humid.
No?
Oh,
that place was fucking humid. So anyway, I've been to South Texas and so I've been to some relatively humid places, but this place, the windows stayed wet. So if you're walking in the main area, the convention and shit like that, like the windows were constantly wet. It was just wet.
That's a welcoming environment to be in, because I know that you're constantly walking around wondering if the sweat in your balls is coming through your pants. People gonna see this?
Oh, dude. So wear dark clothing. That's basically what you do, which seems counterintuitive, but it's either that or fucking sweat stains.
Yeah, wear an apron. So who was on the panel with you?
Panel was a good mixture of knowns and unknowns. Maj was on there, of course. That's a known. Hang Strange, that's a known. Me, kind of known. And then you had some relatively newcomers. Now, I have to be careful with with Rhonda Mary, because Rhonda Mary, although she's relatively new, she kind of came up on the scene in January. She's taking this motherfucker like fucking grabbing the bulls by the horn. She's making a name for herself. So Rhonda Mary was there. If you don't know who she is, you guys got to go check her out. This lady is fucking brilliant, man. She's just quiet, like very quiet and reserved. She's from the South, and she starts talking like, what the fuck just happened here? Like, the fuck came out of this lady? It's pretty amazing to see her on there. Alicia Garcia, she's on right now. She's watching on Facebook. We're doing this on Facebook and 2 YouTube channels, so it's all a mixture. And then we had Devin Perkins, who is Trenchwork Chronicles. Oh, I see that just jumped on. And Antonia was there as well, but she was going to participate, but then she didn't end up participating. And then kind of guiding the conversation was Spike Cohen,
okay,
who is the vice presidential candidate for the Libertarian Party.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So you met a future president.
Sure. Why not? Sure.
Is he running with Joe Jorgensen?
With Joe Jorgensen, yep.
Is he for real? For real running with her?
Yeah. He's the pick. He's their VP pick.
Wow. Okay. Did you get to meet Joe?
No, I did not get to meet Joe, because you know me. Once that show was done, it was like, well, how about we leave here?
Yeah. Okay.
So while everybody was doing their typical, let's take pictures, I was just like, okay, let's walk outside and be awkward as fuck.
This is why you don't get any clout, dude. You don't show up for any pictures.
Well, nobody, like, again, ever since fucking SHOT Show, I'm 100% convinced that I'm just unapproachable.
I wonder where that comes from.
Just completely unapproachable.
Well, we got a Urban 2A pistol permit course on here.
Who's that?
I don't know.
You don't know?
They're in Connecticut. Welcome.
They're in Connecticut. Fuck yeah.
What's
Welcome.
up? Welcome.
Pimp your shit out.
Okay.
So yeah, before we get it on too much, I want to talk about our viral post.
Yes,
We
the
made a post.
Racism is on.
We made a post.
Where'd you get this post?
Well, I seen the video at a local like buy here pay here, a weird place. So I grabbed the video. It wouldn't let me share it in any way, shape, or form. So I downloaded the video, re-uploaded it, and then I made my remarks. I was like, "Hey, this is cool." It's basically a video of an individual stealing some merchandise, and the group he was stealing from, instead of pulling out guns and shit like that, they just fucking chased him down. It was a group of them and grabbed their shit. Now it happened to be a black dude that was stealing from people who happened to be Mexican. And then I suppose an elder in the black community was like, I got this shit. The Mexican was like, cool, you say you got it, then you got it. And that fool's like, give them their shit back. You don't do this shit. It's not what we do around here. This shit's your hood. It's not what we do around here. Mexicans got their shit. Black dude was told some shit by an elder in his community, and life was good. So my comments were essentially that, a little bit more colorful than that, but essentially like, this shit was cool to see, how nobody had to die, nobody had to go to jail, nobody had to do any of that stuff. So I posted it and immediately got some attention. And then this weekend, it was like, what the fuck? I think we hit 1.5 million views on that video. I think that's what it's got, is 1.5 million views, like 2,000 shares. Like that shit went fucking berserk. And it's hard to keep up with the comments. I don't know if you tried.
It's not hard. It's impossible. And that's Facebook's fault.
Like I did it to some people. Like I replied because there was some stupid fucking comments. So I told them to eat cock, in a relatively nicer way.
Well, apparently, I don't know if you know this, but the most important part of that video, which you missed, and fortunately, thousands of people all originally came up with the same idea.
Oh, his pants?
His pants need to be pulled up.
Oh my God, that was the number one comment.
That is the number one issue in this video, is this guy's pants.
Yeah.
So thank God somebody caught that.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe he should steal a belt.
I love it when like, is nobody gonna mention that he needs to buy a belt? Dude, like, yeah, like literally thousands
of people have said this already. Nobody's gonna mention it. Oh my God.
So yeah, that video went fucking crazy. How it happened, I don't know. I wish it was another video that went viral, but that's the one that went viral.
I'm not mad that that's the one that went viral.
Fair enough.
I think it illustrated a good point. And
yeah,
if you took, I didn't read all the comments.
Well, I love the people because I made fun of the Mexicans because we were just fucking bouncing around like ding, 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 ding. So I had mentioned like my Mexican delegation needs to hurry up and find a growth hormone. And everybody's like, that's racist. Like, motherfucker, let me break it down to you, motherfucker. Like, my parents came here illegally.
Yeah.
And there was legit a Karen. I screenshotted that shit. Legit a Karen who told me, you need to stop that. So I was like, a Karen telling a Mexican what the fuck to do.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So 1.5 million people reached, 230,000 engagements, and I'd say 95% of them were all in the same basic vein, which is like, we should kill people who steal.
Yeah.
Somebody should have shot him. He needs a belt. Pull up his pants. This is why black people aren't allowed in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah. And I'd say about 1% of the people I saw who commented actually understood the post.
Correct.
Which was not hard to understand if you read what you wrote, but apparently 4 or 5 paragraphs is too many.
Too many.
Yeah.
And it's a video that deserves what I wrote.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not just like, oh, this shit happened, here it is.
And I'm not going to say, I'm not agreeing or disagreeing that this proves your anarchist perspectives, but it does,
it proves it.
It does illustrate the anarchist perspective, which is, hey, nobody kneeled on this guy's neck for 8 minutes and killed him for stealing something.
Correct. It was handled the way it should have been. Now, some people would argue, we're like, oh, we're all humans. Like, it shouldn't have done this way. Like, you got to understand, like, if it were a perfect anarchist situation, race or no race, we would be all part of a group. And let's just set the race issue aside. If somebody from my group or whatever anarchist group was stealing from another one, like, it'd kind of be our responsibility to be like, you know what, it's ours. I don't want you guys to associate us with this fucker, so we're gonna make sure that he's held accountable for his wrongdoings and shit like that. Like, it's the way it's supposed to be handled, in my opinion. And it was perfect because, like, especially nowadays when you have a lot of other stuff, racism, not just within black and white shit, but there's been a lot of people. We've seen what happened with the Latin Kings in Chicago. Some sort of racial tension there because a group of Hispanics decided to defend. Now, some people say it's one thing, some people say it's another, and then we've seen, unfortunately, some Mexican vendors be attacked. And for me, it's just like it's. I don't think that's ever a racist thing. I think it's just kids being stupid as fuck, not necessarily targeting somebody for their race.
Yeah, I don't really know. I'm not plugged in.
Yeah,
as you might say. But it was a really good example of the community handling this on their own and then yielding to the more appropriate authority in that moment.
correct.
Because not only is the goal to, like, not let this guy steal from you, the goal is, like, you don't steal in our neighborhood. And, so it has to have some kind of a lasting effect for this guy to point out, like, hey, you don't do that in this neighborhood. It's bad enough if you're going to steal, but you don't steal outside of of our zone. And actually, I want to point something out here that is pretty controversial, and I'm going to try to tread lightly while I do it because it's very easily taken wrong. So please don't take this the wrong way. And it's not my idea. But I was listening to an excellent podcast called MoFax. You can find it on Apple or wherever. One of the episodes was dealing with the idea of segregation, and that segregation as it happened in this country was in fact forced segregation, and a lot of the focus was on forcing white people to allow black people to integrate. But there were actually some forces going on that were forcing black people to integrate when they didn't want to. I'm not speaking for all black people. I'm not saying this happened across the board, but there's plenty of evidence that black people didn't really have an interest in integrating. The problem was not that they, were sort of segregated societies. The problem was that they weren't allowed to integrate into white society. They weren't allowed to have what's been considered like, if you have two drinking fountains, one for black people, one for white people, the white water fountain works, the black one doesn't,
Correct.
And so, yes, people want to be treated equally, but if you force people to integrate with each other, you're not necessarily acting in their best interest if they don't want that. If they want that, they should be free to do it, but we kind of have it in our head that we must all be in one big happy family, and a lot of people just don't get along that well. And they're happier and they get along better with people when they don't have to be forced to be.
You need to boost your mic, fool.
Living next to them, going to, being in school right next to them, and so on and so forth. I'm not advocating that we return to a segregated society.
Well, there's always been evidence of self-segregation. There's always been evidence in that. Like I've said this on the podcast, and I don't shy away from my comment because it's 100% true. Like it's just real for me. I'm not saying it's right, but it is 100% real for me. Is I've been in situations where I was the only Mexican there, and like it hits me like, holy fuck, there's a lot of white motherfuckers here, like, and it immediately makes me start feeling uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not saying it's wrong. It's not their fault. It's something that's internal. I grew up on the west side of Denver. I grew up with nothing but Mexicans. I think there was one white lady in the neighborhood. Everybody else was Mexican. Like every other fucking person except this one lady on that block was Mexican. So I'm used to just being around brown people. Like that's it. And a lot of it's systemic or whatever, but for the most part, like it's just in my head. It's just like that. That's just the way I grew up. That's just the way it was. Right, wrong, or indifferent is that's just the way it fucking happened. I go to places that make me feel comfortable.
Mm-hmm. When I was a kid, I grew up with a lot of Filipinos.
Yeah,
and I loved my Filipino friends. First of all, most of them were hilarious. I don't know culturally why that's true.
Joseph.
But
Joseph.
They were funny, man. All of them were funny. And on the baseball field, they were my friends. And sometimes off the baseball field, they were my friends. But oh my God, I went to a couple of Filipino family parties when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I felt like I didn't belong there at all.
Yeah.
Everybody's looking at me weird. Nobody's even speaking English. Like the food is different. And I mean, I was just a kid and, I'm outside of my environment. And if I was in that situation now, it wouldn't intimidate me like it did when I was a kid,
Correct.
but you'd still feel it.
Correct.
And some people say, well, now you know what black people feel like all the time. I'm not saying they don't. I'm just saying, like, we don't have to force us all to hang out all the time.
Correct.
If black people want to have their own thing, and have you ever walked into a black church?
No.
It's a different experience.
Yeah.
It's a different experience. Now, they're very welcoming, but it was strange. I've walked into Navajo churches. I've walked into black churches. I've walked into, hell, even when I moved to the Northeast, I walked into a Baptist church, and I'd never been in there before, and I felt out of place.
Yeah, but I think that's why it's important in that video where the Mexicans were just like, you know what, the black elder, like we recognize this guy as a leader in the black community. He's here to fix it. So it's not even that we don't want to intermingle and shit like that. It's just like somebody who represents you and your people and your belief systems and your culture is here to take care of the shit. Mm-hmm. Because as much as black people and Mexicans need to unite, there's still a relatively culture difference that I think needs to be respected. That needs to be acknowledged. Is just the way we handle things are very different. And we've talked about this in the podcast before, just the loyalty you grow up with in the hood and the Mexican culture. We're very, again, for right or wrong, is just very knit tight, and something I don't see in white communities where it's just like, no, it's just, I'm going to do my thing. And if to the detriment.
We're knit very tightly if you don't look like us. We send out all our middle-aged women to get rid of you. We let them handle it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was for me, and I think a lot of people don't understand this, and I think a lot of white people don't understand why it was important for, and I feel it's important for, in that particular video, for the Mexicans to step back. Like, this guy's got it. It doesn't require 10 of us anymore. This guy can get through. This guy can get to other human being, this particular human being, better than we can. Because, for as much as people who are white and might be a little bit slightly to the right say this all the time. They say this all the time. They just don't understand on the racial side of it. It's just they talk about taxation without representation. So you understand 100% why it's important to be represented in that. Why to have a representative if you're going to be taxed? Same thing for the minorities. It's important for me, anyways, to see somebody who looks like me, if they are going to be representing somebody, to be representing my interests, my cultures, because the culture is different. Like it's just different. Like it's just very, very different.
So the crazy anarchists, I mean that loosely, I don't mean that specifically, and the Marxists and the people who are trying to destroy this country right now. I'm not talking about your typical people in the streets. I'm talking about the forces at play right now that are behind what a lot of what's going on are making the point that we need community policing, and I actually think they're 100% right about that. And in fact, that's proved with several studies done where communities, especially big cities, have implemented real community policing, and it has made an enormous difference. And a lot of what community policing is letting the community handle that low-level crime, and you're just there as sort of a backup or to support, the community leaders who are doing this kind of stuff. Which that's one of the things I think that makes all of these conversations so hard, because a lot of these ideas, a lot of these mandates and talking points and signage and all this is based somewhat in things that we probably should get back to. The problem is it's also being pushed and supported by these organizations that really are looking to destroy this country.
Yeah.
So, and not in a good way, not in the way that you want it to happen, which is for the communities to sort of fragment out and take care of themselves.
Yeah, the Antifa way, the fucking let's destroy this country and what little freedom it has, and let's pretend we're anti-fascist and it become the ultimate fascist fucking ruling class.
Yeah. So thank you, China. I wonder if we get kicked off YouTube if we talk about this.
I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
Let's find out. The Chinese are behind all of this. Maybe you know that. Maybe you don't.
Chinese behind what? I don't get into your conspiracy theories. You're the conspiracy theorist around here.
Let me restate that.
Yeah.
The Chinese Communist Party.
Okay.
I'm not throwing all Chinese people under the bus.
All right.
Only 99% of them. I'm sure there's a 1% out there who doesn't want to take over the United States. But the rest of them, they're all in on it. And we're going to hell in a handbasket, I'll tell you that. I'm not going to get too much into it right now. I don't think our podcast is quite equipped for that. But if you want to know what's really going on, it's China.
And
China's,
the NBA.
Yes. Locked and Loaded Latino says, look up Gavin Newsom helping the Chinese run guns. I know that the Chinese have been running guns out of California for a while. There's also the Chinese owning the NBA, Chinese owning Hollywood, Chinese owning a huge portion of the mainstream media, the Chinese having several governors in their pockets and academics. It's the Chinese. Whatever problem, if you have a zit on your nipple right now that's making it hard to wear a T-shirt, it's the Chinese.
Chinese and Wayfair.
And Wayfair, yeah.
That shit was crazy when I keep seeing shit about Wayfair. I'm like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? And I looked it up. I was like, that shit's hilarious. There's a meme. The meme is a dresser, and it said when you buy a dresser from Wayfair, and then the next it's two pictures side by side. One of them, a dresser drawer closed, and then they open and a little kid pops out. This shit's fucking, oh man.
Yeah.
The way conspiracies and lies fucking spread quickly. That's a good segment for.
Yes, because
segue.
The rate that information spreads is unmanageable.
Yeah.
We are incapable of managing it, period. Yeah. Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, any social media, any media at all spreads at a pace that we cannot keep up with.
Yeah.
We cannot, and I don't mean like, oh, what's the next story? There's no way for us to parse through, and we're getting to the point where every single person has their own set of information and facts about a lot of really big issues. And nobody can really, you can't even really relate to anybody. I mean, even with conversations with you where we're talking about the same thing, we're working off different information.
Correct.
And having information is good, but we are not built to manage this much information.
Correct.
We cannot,
and it's
cannot socialize.
It's fucking bonkers when you start receiving more information. Like, what the fuck? So,
If let's say you're a sheriff
let's say you're a sheriff in Larimer County,
in Larimer County,
just for shits and grins,
just a random example,
just for shits and grins.
and somebody says, "Hey, this company is doing X, Y, and Z." And
Now, this somebody might be Jason Gray from from another company. So this person may or may not be an individual who doesn't know how to run a business, and instead of running their own fucking business, they create lies constantly, not just about guns for everyone, but about any company that is superior to them, which isn't hard to do, by the way. All you have to do is throw up an LLC and you are fucking better than Jason Gray and anything he'll ever do.
or
Which is why if you see anything that Jason Gray does, and look at him, some of you guys are part of gun groups out there. Alicia Garcia, she has one. I don't know if he's part of that shit. This guy, if somebody, I've seen him do this shit, and I've called him out on this shit. There was this up and coming instructor who posted up his classes. He's trying to get classes, and this guy instantly, like, oh, I already seen the way you do classes. That's not the way you're supposed to do classes. How about you shut the fuck up? Let the fucking person pimp out their fucking classes and let them learn and get better and do what the fuck they have to do. So it's not just about us. But let's just pretend it was this fucking cocksucker.
Good, yeah. Let's pretend.
Let's pretend it was this cocksucker that called up a sheriff's office and said, hey, they're breaking the law and I don't like it.
Breaking the law.
Which, by the way, we're not.
Breaking the law. That is accusing somebody of a crime to a law enforcement official, right?
Correct. Falsely reporting it.
Falsely. I mean,
Oh,
it's not
shit. Isn't that a crime?
It's not a sworn affidavit, but it is a false report.
Huh.
I would believe. Anyway, information gets replicated across the state by a certain sheriff. Let's call him Justin Stiff, and sends an email to every sheriff in the state saying that our class is not valid, creating somewhat of a headache for us.
Correct.
Now, we're getting through it because we're not retarded. And
luckily, a great majority of the sheriffs that we've dealt with aren't retarded.
Yes, a great a majority of them, like the sheriff from Denver
Summit.
County.
Denver, Summit, basically everybody in the Denver metro area is not retarded. We talked to Boulder, and Boulder's like, no, we read that letter and they're fucking dumb. We know what's up.
So the liberal counties have
We
been
talked
cool.
to Denver, and Denver was like, nah, you guys are good. We know what's up.
Yeah.
We talked to Adams County. Adams County was like, no, we know what's up. We talked to Arapahoe, and Arapahoe was like, no, we know what's up. Summit County, and they're like, no, we know what's up. In fact, Summit County gave me a little bit of an issue, and they're like, you know what? I talked to our attorney. Our attorney read everything you said, seen the pictures. You guys are good. You talked to who? Which county?
Fremont
Teller? Fremont County.
Mhm.
And what they tell you?
We're good.
You guys are good.
Yep.
I talked to Albert County, and Albert County is like, yeah, like I reacted based off of what he said, but now talking to you, like, you guys are good.
Yeah. So thank God we're not retarded. Well, you're not. I'm not so sure about me yet. But yeah, so a few issues at play here. Number one, apparently some sheriffs in this state do not know how to read, cannot understand a simple Colorado revised statute describing what does and doesn't qualify.
Correct.
And also some bad actors who are trying to either just falsify certificates and break the laws such as it is, or people who are actively trying to sabotage us. It doesn't really matter because the real main point here with these two sheriffs in Weld County and Larimer County is that their reaction to this was to apply a blanket ban to our certificates.
Correct.
Without contacting us at all to resolve the issue.
Correct.
Which I find unforgivable. That
Correct.
is some low life type.
You know, and if because I've had a lot of people are like, yeah, but you do not know what they're especially Weld County. Do you not know what they've been doing in Pro 2A stuff? I was like, it doesn't matter. Like, it's like Trump doing pro 2A, but then banning bump stocks. Like, it may not be a big deal to you, but in the overall context of it, like, you can't say you're pro 2A when at any moment and any opportunity you get, you show your true colors and you show that you're not pro 2A. Because if it was truly a pro 2A support, they would have been like, hey, you know what? This is fucking up students. Let's think about the students that we're hurting here. Let's get the shit figured out.
No, you don't understand. Sheriff Reams is pro-gun. He removed the fee for concealed carry permit. Have you talked to him? You should reach out to him. He's a good guy.
He's a good guy.
Yeah.
I'm
sure
way,
if you just reached out to him, he'd see things your way.
Which, by the way, Huerfano County's been doing that for, I think, close to a decade.
Well, they don't get any credit because nobody lives in Huerfano County.
Except me. Huerfano County's been doing that for almost a decade, and he didn't ask for permission from the commissioners. He just fucking did it.
Does he have to? Oh,
No.
the county commissioners, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I didn't. I mean, I knew that Huerfano is the only one though that has been doing it like that.
As far as I know, I can't guarantee that 100%, but as far as I know, they've been doing that for quite some time.
Very long time. It's pretty well known. So I do want to give Mr. Reams a little bit of credit because he is actively talking to us and he does seem interested in finding a solution. But I don't think I'm ever going to get over the fact that we had to reach out to him and not the other way around.
Correct. Because it's in their job description. Like, they have to verify all the documents, and part of verifying that is verify that they attended the class. Hey, how about just reach out to us? Like, it's nowadays it's relatively difficult to get a hold of us, but it's not impossible to get a hold of us, especially if you're like, hey, we are the sheriff's office,
or hey, this is the sheriff.
This is the sheriff.
The guy who's saying these certificates are no good. Hey, I'm gonna call
you
and tell you that we're doing this.
So yeah, and see, that's the thing is this right here. He's still fucking with you. Mm-hmm. It's not like, because we've already had two this could have been ended in one conversation. Like, we shouldn't have to have 3 separate conversations about this shit. Like, this should have ended already. The same way it happened with Summit County, with Fremont County, with Elbert County, with Denver, with Boulder, with every other fucking county, where it's just like one conversation. Then they're like, yeah, cool. Like, we got this.
So ultimately, this is all going to be okay, because I know that these sheriffs who are not doing their job are going to go ahead and reduce some of their budget to compensate for the fact that they don't want to do their jobs, and they'll return that money to the taxpayers, and then we'll be square.
Of course.
Yeah. So in the same way that all the schools districts are returning property taxes to property taxpayers because the buildings are not being used,
of course.
Yeah. So
no water bills and no light bills and all that shit.
Yeah. So I'm patiently waiting for my check for a refund on my property taxes.
And here's another thing that I got to say, and we can move on from this conversation after this. There's a lot to be said for there's several gun groups in the state of Colorado and several gun activists in the state of Colorado. There's a lot to be said about their silence. There's a lot to be said about how little
it's worse than silence, dude.
It's like very little have they done in this whole battle. So the best way I can explain it, we had a friend of mine that was, and there's two sides to this, and then we can move it along if you want to. But we had a friend of mine that was on. We were friends, and one of the conversations that we had was my friendship. I got to be careful on how I say that. My friendship with my friend. Her name was Violet. She was in today's terms, like back then we didn't see it that way, but in today's terms, she'd be a trans individual. She was somebody who was born a female but wanted to be a dude, dressed like a dude, dressed the whole part. There was many occasions when this individual would start fights, and I'm sure it was a lot of it because she was getting picked on, probably called a dyke or whatever, and people were talking shit, so she tried to defend herself, and I got involved with that stuff because it was my friend. And there was one particular time when she's like, "Hey, they're talking shit to us. We need to go fight. I need your help." Food showed up, and we were gonna rumble, and then she's like, "Go for it. It's all yours." Like, what the fuck you mean it's all mine? Like, we were gonna fight. Like, you said we were gonna fight. Like, we're here to rumble, and she's like, "You got this. Like, it's yours." That's basically what's going on right now. Now, a lot of people are gonna be like, "Well, it's your certificate, it's your thing." Like, no, but it doesn't just affect guns for everyone. This affects the whole gun community. I thought we were in this shit together. Like, on my end, and I'm just venting at this point. Fuck it. Like, I'm sick and fucking tired of every single time. Now, we don't advertise this. We don't go out there and we're like, "Oh, this is what Guns for Everyone does." We don't do that shit. But every single time that a student writes us and they're like, "Hey, this sheriff's doing that," like, I'm on that shit. Like it's immediately like, "You fuckers better change your fucking tune." I say it nicely initially, but that's not what the law is. I don't give a fuck what you feel, but that's not what the law is. We've been fighting this shit for 10 years. We've been educating sheriff's offices for 10 fucking years on this shit. And then the one time when I'm like, "Hey, rally for our rights," like, what's up with this? Now, granted, I haven't specifically been like, "Hey, like, let's do something." RMGO was like, "Oh, we're gonna help you out." Fucking crickets, dude. Fucking crickets. Nothing from anywhere, like nothing at all. There's one individual in Colorado. Now I'm talking about people in Colorado, because there's people around other states that have done a few things here and there. But in Colorado, Antonia Okafor. Now, the reason why that name's important is because she's employed by Gun Owners of America. She found out about the situation. She's like, "Hey, what the fuck's going on?" It was 7 a.m, so I had just gone to bed at 6 a.m. I still had the fucking frog in my throat. I didn't know if I was going to be able to talk. We had a conversation, and she's like, "Fucking on it. Gun Owners of America is on this bitch." So an hour later, I was on the phone with Eric Pratt, which is the senior vice president of Gun Owners of America. I'm not talking about just the secretary. There's like the fucking guy at Gun Owners of America. Answered. We had a conference call with him, explained to him what the fuck was going on. Their attorney reached out, was like, "Hey, have your attorney reach us." Today, Gun Owners of America followed up. They're like, "Hey, let's have this conversation. You guys have a case. Our attorneys, who, by the way, fight millions of dollars worth of gun cases every single year. This is not just low-level fucking attorneys. That's what the fuck they do. This is what the fuck they do for a fucking living. Nothing but guns." They're like, "We already looked into this shit. Open shut case. Fucking potential for huge lawsuit if you guys wanted to. Gun Owners of America. Not that they could do a whole lot immediately, but they've been actively fucking like, "Hey, let's fix this shit." You know how many times they've asked for a plug?
Zero
times.
You know how many times they asked for a plug during the conference, right?
During the shit, like nothing. Like, they zero fucking times they say, "Hey, but if we help you, you need to do this for us." Not a fucking time did they say that. Not once. Not at all. Not a fucking time did they ask for that shit. So I do have to big ups to Antonia for hooking that up, and Gun Owners of America for stepping up. And then here's the more complex one. Here's the more like fucking jabby at certain people, not at everybody, but at certain people. A lot of people have been sending me screenshots from Jason Gray, what he's doing. "Oh my God, look what he's been doing. Look, this is what he's saying," shit like that. Listen, I know what the fuck he does. I know it. If you follow gun groups and you see him, you know that 9 out of 10 times is going to be negative from that motherfucker.
Or like negative and or incorrect.
Incorrect. Like you just know that shit. Like, you just fucking know that shit. What I want to know is what you said. That's what the fuck I want to know. Like that's on some biblical shit. Like, I'm not I don't even believe in the Bible, to be honest with you, but like it's on some Jesus shit. Like, I know what the fuck the bad guys say about me. But I want to know what the fuck you said about me. Like, what did you say to stop it? Correct the information. Like, that's what the fuck I'm interested in. Is if you know it's wrong and clearly you're telling me that it's wrong, what the fuck did you do about it at that very moment? Because if you tell me and then you're just like, oh, okay, like I'm just letting you know, like that doesn't really stop the misinformation.
Yeah.
At all in any way, shape, or form.
Exactly.
So at some point we all have to, like, if you believe in the Second Amendment, this isn't a guns for everyone thing. We're going to go away in 50, 60 years. We're probably going to be gone. Like, guns for everyone's probably going to be gone. It's not because we want to be gone. It's because, and it's not that I'm wishing we're gone. It's just that's
when the Alzheimer's is going to kick in.
like we're going to be old as fuck.
For one of us. Not sure which one yet.
Probably me. and it's just gonna be gone, but like we got to keep fighting that shit. That legacy needs to be there. Not the guns for everyone legacy, but the fucking, we have to keep it there. That's another reason why I think this guns thing is going away. Like if you really look at how much people want to fight, it's nothing. Like it's just like I go in there and we're gonna fight, and then they're like, oh, I thought you had it. Like, no, motherfuckers, like you guys said we were all fighting together. Mm-hmm. And it's back to that story with my friend. It's just like, but you got this. So you go at it alone. Like, no, motherfucker, like I can't do it alone.
Yeah.
I just can't. And that's one of the things that I've been telling students too, is just like, we need you to initially fight. You can't just be like, oh, okay, well, they denied me, not a big deal. Like, no. There's one dude, he told me what he did in Larimer, actually. And he's like, I wasn't fucking leaving that bitch until they fucking accepted the certificate. Wasn't going to leave.
How'd it go?
His shit got accepted.
Nice.
His shit was like, well, I guess we'll accept it because it's a certain time. They gave him some bullshit excuse why they were going to check. Because they knew if they had a student do that shit.
If all of our students did that, we wouldn't be having this problem.
Correct.
If all of our students were like, correct, no, this is legal. I did my part. You do your part. I'm not leaving without my permit. This would not be an issue.
My acceptance.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. This wouldn't be an issue. And I'm not saying that it's their job to fix the difficult situation we're in with this COVID, correct, and everything. But, look, we're here to help. We're here to take on the fight. We've got an attorney, and we're not afraid to do this. But it's your permit. It's your Second Amendment right, just as much as it is ours. And you need to meet that challenge with the same energy that you expect us to.
Correct.
And I don't know who I'm talking to, who might be listening, and
correct,
but the sheriff is the highest authority in the county, right underneath you, the citizen, correct, who elected the correct guy in the first place.
Correct.
The power lies with you, not with him. And if you have met all the legal requirements, it's your job to hold him accountable.
Correct.
And I mean, that's a good point. I haven't even thought about that until you said it, but it's true. We're fighting a pretty big fight here, and we're essentially doing it alone.
Alone, dude.
Yeah.
And then that's the frustrating part. I told you this on Friday. And you're like, wait a minute, don't, because I'm like, I'm gonna burn this bitch down. It's just gonna be fucking burnt the fuck down.
Yeah.
And I understand the legal process is a painful fucking slow process, painfully slow process. Like I get that shit, but on the public front, there was plenty of opportunities for people to show their solidarity and their unified front and force with this. And like it's just like, oh, it's you. Like if it was truly affecting me, because you know how much it affects me, like realistically,
not enough to really make you care.
Like it doesn't affect me. Mm-hmm. Like if 1,000 students get denied, like honestly, that doesn't affect me. But at the same time, it's just like we kind of became what we became because we wanted to be activists and we wanted to be that voice that fought for the people that didn't necessarily have the resources and shit like that to fight for this stuff. So we need an initial help from that student. Be like, no, I this shit was legal. This shit was all correct. This is all of them. But for the other gun organizations that are in the state of Colorado who claim to do the same thing, By the way, these are the same organizations that will message us every single time they got something going on. And I, every single time, be like, check this shit out. I don't know how cool it is. I don't know. Like, do your own research. I'm not without faults. Like, when there's rallies, I'm like, I think this rally is going to be stupid, but here's the information. I've been asked to do. Yo, I call the rally that I spoke at stupid.
Yeah.
So that's just how I feel about rallies. Or, hey, this group is having you call and email your fucking representatives. They ain't gonna do shit, but fucking here's what they're doing, and I share that information. I give my 2 cents and I share that information.
I'll tell you, it's a double-edged sword, because when somebody speaks like that, it takes the wind out of the sails of people. And they're like all energized, and then Edgar's like, this is stupid. You're wasting your time, but here's the link. All right. So, but it's a double-edged sword, because it's totally true.
Correct.
It's 100% true. And people need to know that it's true. Yeah. But it's, thank you, Richard. Richard's blocked from that Reddit thread. Richard got in there, and I'm pretty sure I knew which one it was Richard. He got in there, and the mods over there at Colorado Guns shut it down. So thanks, Richard. We love you. But people need to hear the truth. People need to speak the truth. And the truth is, if you think calling and writing your senator is going to stop a magazine bill, you're wrong.
It's not
you are 100% wrong.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to do it, here's the link. Here's a campaign that's going on to do it. Because essentially what we're trying to do is support other causes and tell people like, hey, we are all on the same team. So I will put that link out there for you. We got, over 10,000 people following us on Facebook. I'll go ahead and put that out there. I'm not going to lie to myself about it, though, and I'm not going to lie to the people who are on our page. Yeah. This is not going to work. But if this is your thing, if you like doing it like this, then
do it.
Do it.
Do it.
And I think that so that's what makes it a double-edged sword, because when I've had things in the past that I was trying to get excited about, and you told me it was stupid, I didn't want to hear that. I'm not even convinced you were right most of the time.
Yeah.
But somebody's got to tell you.
Yeah.
You got to have somebody in your life who's telling you what you're doing is stupid.
Yeah.
If everybody around you is like, yeah, I signed a petition. Did you sign? Yeah, okay, yeah. Well, hope that works. Like, somebody's got to be standing there like, hey, it's not going to work. It's not happening.
Yeah.
You got to do something else.
And sometimes it doesn't mean you're not going to try. Do I think Jo Jorgensen is going to win the presidential election? Fuck no. She doesn't stand a fucking fat chance in hell. Sometimes it doesn't mean you don't try, and it doesn't mean you just give up. It's just, that's my honest opinion. We got to be honest sometimes. We're just like, nah, it's not going to happen, but we're going to do it. In this particular case, we're right. We already have confirmation from not just one, not two, not three, but several attorneys are like, oh, I wish I had this shit. Like, I've had several attorneys come to the class, and they're like, man, I heard about your fight with the counties. They're like, fuck, I wish I was fighting that, man, because you know how fucking easy that shit would be. I mean, it's time consuming. Poor I'll say his name, I need to sneeze.
Brian DeBuck Law Firm. DeBouche. Sorry. I didn't want it to rhyme with douche.
Yeah, that's his name. Brian DeBouche, doing an amazing job for us, and he's our guy. I mean, I gotta make that shit clear. He's our guy. I'm bringing up the other attorneys, not to discredit our attorney, but when you have confirmation after confirmation from attorneys who are like, oh, this is what the fuck, like this shouldn't even be a question. Like, the sheriff should already shut the shit down, be like, I'm a fucking idiot, and shut that shit down. And then when you have one of the largest gun groups in the entire fucking U.S. be like, man, our attorneys looked at this shit and they said this is fucking easy cake. This is fucking not a fucking thing. So big ups to Brian DeBouche. That motherfucker's been, I've been bugging the fuck out of him. Like, hey, fucking burn these motherfuckers down. And there's been a few times where he's been like, nah, motherfucker, you got to slow your roll. Very politely, by the way. Has had to tell me fucking slow your motherfucking roll. But yeah, Brian
somebody
DeBush,
has to tell you.
yes, yeah, and that's true. That's just 100% true. Every single time we were at dinner during this conference and Friday, and we were talking about how people attack Maj on, and I'm just slowly getting away from that conversation, but attacking Maj and questioning whether he's an ally of the LGBT community, and he's like, yeah, like I'm for them. Like I have certain views and shit like that may not necessarily be 100, but it's not like I'm with them. Like I have my camera, part of my camera crew is gay and shit like that, and Rhonda Mary's are like, so you're doing the I got a gay friend thing, huh?
Well, that stings.
and it's true. I only bring this up because it was in context. It's just like sometimes you just need somebody to tell you you're fucking up, and it's not a malicious thing. It's just like, hey, we got to check each other, not be afraid of it. And I think ultimately that's what happened here. Is one, I'm the with the person that turned us in. And turn in is a bad thing because like what the fuck were they turning? The person who gave wrong information about our classes. That's a better way of saying it.
The brown shirt?
The brown that guy right there gave wrong information about this shit. I had checked him several times on it. I'm sure he didn't appreciate that shit. And then when the sheriff says their thing, they're probably expecting just a gun company to just be like, oh, okay, well, I guess that's what the sheriff says. And we're like, nah, motherfucker, like, we got to hold you accountable.
Because that's what every other gun company is doing publicly. It's like, no. We got to follow what the sheriff says.
Yeah.
That's the only way we're going to get out of this alive.
Yeah.
Literally, they're not saying alive as in life or death. They're saying, like, if we don't do this right, the Democrats are going to change the law, and we're going to be SOL. Hey,
and here's the thing, by the way, by you bringing this shit up, you're the one that initiated this shit.
Well, not only that, but you cannot control what those a-holes up in the state legislature are going to do, but you can tell the truth. You can tell the truth. You can do that.
Correct.
And that's what you need to do. And like, whenever I'm in a situation where somebody's brown shorts, yeah, there you go. Whenever I'm in a situation where I'm dealing with somebody who's obviously lying
and retarded,
I try to channel that back to myself and use it as a check on myself. Okay, this person is lying. That makes me want to take revenge. But ultimately, all I can do is tell the truth for myself. That's all I can do. Every other thing that I think might happen because I do X, Y, or Z, like, well, if I'm going to take the low road here and I'm just going to stick the needle in just a little bit, you don't know what the outcome is going to be, but you know you gave something up to get it. You don't know how it's going to go, but if you go down there, you are giving something up. And through this whole thing that we've had going on since COVID started, our conversations have been purely around what is best for the student.
Correct.
Can we do our class in a way that meets the legal requirement and meets the need of the student?
Correct. Because there's a lot of students, by the way, who have emailed in this. You had one that was like, oh, I'm pregnant. I see that you guys are kind of changing things. I can't be around that many people for that long. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's not even I can't be around people. That some people are genuinely in that position where it's just like, I get it. I don't want to be terrified about this shit, but I don't want to run the risk. I'm pregnant. I don't want to get the baby sick. I take care of my elderly grandma. I
had a lady who could barely get up the stairs. And she contacted me ahead of time. She was like, I need to be by myself in the class.
Correct.
And I'm in the middle of a weeknight class, and it's hard to manage. But I managed to keep her by herself in that class.
Correct.
And I said, we're going to do this. We're going to, and we're going to get you in and out of here. Because obviously I could tell just by looking at her, like, this person does not need to catch the Rona.
Correct.
I can catch it. I'll be fine. Probably.
Correct.
maybe I'm genetically predisposed to drop dead.
98% of motherfuckers that show up to your class are gonna be a-okay.
Right. But there have been a few where it's like, no. Give this person their space. Because the whole reason we're doing this is so that people who are freaked out right now,
Correct.
who may end up pointing a gun at somebody that they don't need to point a gun at, can at least get good information.
Correct.
And so I know all of that. I have no doubt about that whatsoever, what my intentions are, and that I'm following the law, I'm doing everything right. So when somebody comes along and starts lying about me, at least I know I'm not lying.
Correct.
At least I know I'm right.
Correct.
Now that's not to say you may never have a blind spot where you're like, oh my God, I didn't even realize that.
Correct.
But as far as I know, I don't have to worry about keeping my lies straight, who I told what to, any of that stuff. And people are losing their minds right now in this country, across the entire planet right now.
Yeah.
People are losing their minds, and they're like, this group of people is gonna take over the country, and we're all gonna die, and blah 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 blah. And it's those people's fault. It's that person's fault. Blah blah. Hey, take care of yourself,
bitch.
Take care of yourself. I heard this said the other day, and I'd never heard this before, but it got me. People make up families, families make up neighborhoods, neighborhoods make up communities, communities make up states, states make up countries. Like, you got to start with you.
Correct.
You got to start with you and your family, and doing the right thing, and not worrying so much about what other people are doing, but you do the right thing. You can't control the outcome. You got to stop trying to control the outcome. You got to do what's right.
Yeah.
And I feel like through this whole thing that we've been through, I'm pretty confident in the outcome, because I know I'm not the one lying.
Correct.
I know I'm not the one who's taking advantage of people. I know I'm not the one who is being selfish or whatever. And so I'm like, whatever happens.
When we had the hiccup with the NRA, what's the very first thing we did? We fucking got a hold of me personally. Well, not me personally, my wife. Just that way I don't say anything stupid. My wife contacted all the sheriffs that we deal with on a regular basis. Like, hey, this is what the fuck's going on. The NRA is a fucking, they're on some shit. I'll just say it that way. The NRA is on some shit where we're getting it cleared up. But here's what's going on. Here's the time frames. Not only did we tell them what the fuck was going on, we gave them the time frames. Any student, this time frame is going to have to get a new certificate. Mm-hmm. We were proactive about that shit. At that particular time, there was a time frame when the NRA wanted to fuck me. And there was a time frame when potentially my shit could have been questioned. Ultimately, everything was worked out. Everything was fixed up. Luckily, we didn't have to get the attorneys involved with that slander and that libel shit. But it got worked out, and then we contacted them and like, hey, this is what the fuck's going on. Everything's cleared up. Here's the new everything. Say all of that stuff. So again, we're not without faults. There's a lot of shit even on the retail side that I'm still having to take care of. There's still a lot of transactions that are pending, and I've had to show face, and it's embarrassing, and it's not comfortable. But every single time I've mentioned it on podcasts, I've mentioned it in videos, like, hey, this is what the fuck's going on. Not everybody hears it. Sometimes it takes people to get a hold of us 2-3 weeks, whatever. But like when it's our issue, it's just like it's our issue. I don't feel good about it. Sometimes I just run away from this shit because it becomes too much. But ultimately, it's just like, no, it's just we gotta, like, we're here and we're gonna try and make everything right. So it's frustrating. Very frustrating when you're right, 100% right. But you got to go into that David and Goliath shit where it's just like David looks like he's gonna fucking whoop your ass and like everything's cool there. You just want to be David and have a fucking 16 wives and fucking
and a great view
and a great fucking view.
Yeah. Well, it is frustrating to be dealing with stuff like this, but the way I look at it is I'd rather be doing the right thing and be frustrated than be doing the wrong thing and also be frustrated on top of that, because
Yeah.
I don't care how psychopathic you are. Part of you knows that you're doing the wrong thing and
Yeah.
you're just making things worse.
Can you imagine being that fool?
I can't, dude. I honestly feel
Can
sorry.
can you imagine being that fool and constantly like, fuck, now it's Isaac too?
Nobody even knows who I am.
Like, man.
I'm still just like a stain in your underwear as far as everybody else is concerned.
No, but think about that shit. Like, this motherfucker dwells on you, dude. He dwells about what you're doing. He dwells about what the fuck your next move is. He dwells about how he can fucking ruin you by making shit up. Like, that's imagine the emotional and psychological fucking torment and soon financial torment that he's gonna have to feel.
Now I know what Michael Jordan feels like. I gotta say it's not a terrible feeling. I actually was thinking about that the other day. This is gonna sound really conceited, but it's really meant to be more funny than anything else. But as frustrated as you might be about dealing with all this, like, this is a successful people's problem. Like, P. Diddy gets sued all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know why I use P. Diddy.
Whatever.
I got to pick somebody else. I just didn't want you to.
Smith did a video, and he talked about the fame, and he talked about it. And it's fucked up to bring up Will Smith right now because of everything that he's going to, but it just...
I don't know anything that's going on with him right now.
If you really want to, we could talk about that a little bit later. But he talked about the famous thing. He's like, do you understand that I have to keep a team of attorneys on retainer every year? And he said, I think he said like close to $1 million worth of legal fees every year, because people just constantly try and sue him just because he's Will Smith. It's not because he actually did anything wrong. It's just because people are actively trying to sue him just to get anything from him. Oh, your security guard fucking licked me, or your security guard fucking flicked me, or your car shined a fucking light at me, or whatever. Just a bunch of fucking frivolous bullshit. Like close to $1 million in legal fees.
That's got to be a whole industry that is probably a lot of fun to be in, which is protecting celebrities from a legal point of view.
Yeah.
I would bet that that's a really interesting job.
Correct.
And I bet it pays well, too.
Oh, man, $1 million in fees every year.
That's probably just for a small team. Like,
Brian's
if he got hit with a real lawsuit.
Yeah. Brian's like right now, like, the fuck? Like, hook me up with that shit.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. I got to go. Yeah. So I want to bring up a couple of facts that people may or may not know. There's a company that operates in Colorado. I don't know if they're based here, but they do operate here, called They're called ASDI.
ASDI.
And I did put the link in the podcast show notes. They are doing a drive-in concealed carry class at the Tanner Gun Show.
Oh, not at the Tanner Gun Show. They're doing it at the movie theater at the Denver Mart.
There's a drive-in. Oh, okay. So they're doing it at the drive-in. And
so it's owned by the Denver Mart. It's not owned by the Tanner Gun Show.
Okay, all right. So
and I told you motherfuckers that somebody was going to steal my motherfucking idea. I told you guys. I wish I could bring the motherfucking video back, but this is what we were going to do at 88 Drive-In.
Right.
Yeah.
And why did we not do it?
I think she chickened out.
Okay.
I think ultimately that's what happened is she chickened out.
I think also we came up with a workable solution that didn't require us to go to all the trouble of doing this.
Correct.
So they're operating in Larimer County, not just sending certificates to Larimer. They're operating in Larimer County.
Oh no, yeah, like it's insane, dude. Like again, we can bring up the Hunter's Edge shit. Larimer County accepts Hunter's Edge.
Okay, another fact. Okay, I don't want to get. I don't want to like.
We're doing facts. Sorry.
No. That's a good point. I don't want to get too much into commenting on it. I just want to point these out. So Larimer County is accepting a hunter safety course as proof of handgun training in the state of Colorado. And to be clear, and I know you feel this way too, we do not care at all if they're accepting an ineligible class for...
Say that again. What type of class?
An ineligible class.
So for you ESL motherfuckers like me, that means it's technically legally not a valid class.
And why is it not a valid class?
Because it does not meet the requirements specified in 1812-202. It's not a handgun training class. A certified instructor is not teaching that class. Also, you don't deal with handguns at all.
Also, it's entirely online.
It's also entirely online. Yeah.
Boom.
Do it.
3 reasons, man. Wait, that wasn't good at all. I don't think. No, I don't have a good one for that.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. 3 reasons it doesn't meet the legal requirement. That legal requirement is only 2. There's only 2 parts of that requirement, and one of them is only like 1 sentence long, and it manages to violate 3 of them. And they're not even the only county that accepts that.
Yeah. Weld County as well.
And now El Paso County says that they don't, but they do, or at least they did.
I think they did it under Sheriff. Who's the other weirdo?
Arpaio?
No. Close enough. His cousin. Who was it before?
I don't remember that guy's name.
Yeah.
Makita,
and now it's Bill Elder.
Yeah.
I don't know if Elder does it, but I know Makita did it.
Yeah. So not a handgun class.
Correct.
Entirely online, not taught by a certified instructor. Violates every part of that statute.
Not a certified instructor as defined in 1812 under the law for the purposes of this class. They are certified instructors for what they teach.
Right.
But not for concealed handgun permit.
Okay, so sorry to get too analytical on that, but just pointing that out. Pointing that out. So just a couple of things about this whole thing that it is frustrating to be operating under these circumstances, because it's on its face, it's so simple. It's so simple on its face. And yet people are not. I don't know. This is why I say this in my class. We're having a problem with the sheriff's offices because the sheriffs cannot read. That's the only explanation that I can think of for why this is not going the way it should. They can't read.
Yeah.
I don't know how they got the job, but they can't read.
So here's a letter that I send every single one of my students. Hello, as you may know, we adapted to the world's current situation and implement. And I send this to him as well. So I don't even give a shit about this anymore. We adapted to the world's current situation and implemented an online portion. Students would then attend an in-person portion to legally complete the requirements to qualify a concealed handgun permit. This was done for the comfort and safety of students. Unfortunately, some sheriffs are incompetent and do not understand the law, mostly Justin Smith of Larimer County. Although our attorney will continue to work with their county attorney to ensure they know how to read the CRS, we feel it is important to return to normal format so that students in Larimer County are not denied the misinformation denied by the misinformed and anti-gun sheriff Justin Smith. Effective immediately, which includes your class, we will return to the original format. This no longer includes an online component, only in-person instruction. This also unfortunately means that Justin Smith is preventing us from effectively implementing the necessary precautions to slow the spread of COVID-19. If you are in the vulnerable category and cannot be around large crowds, we will accommodate you. But because of an anti-gun sheriff, we will still have to require you to be exposed to others for several hours instead of the safer and still legal alternative we had in place. We apologize for an inconvenience. Appreciate your patience.
So, any feedback from any students on that?
Most people who read that show up to the class already understanding what the fuck that means. So for most people are like, wow, this is kind of bullshit on their end. And then from the people who were expecting to do the COVID safe class, because again, we don't give a shit. I was just in the fucking epicenter, supposedly, of COVID-19, fucking right next to motherfuckers, like next to motherfuckers without covering my face. So that shows you how much, it's not that I don't take it seriously. It's just like, that's how much I'm preparing for it.
Right.
So we did a lot of what we did, not because that's legally what we had to do, but we knew students we're going to need to take these precautions because we know a lot of these people. We like, you're in a situation where it's just like, I can't necessarily be 100% exposed to this fucking shit because of family shit. Like we know people that need to take care of this shit. So we did it that way. And a lot of people, they're like, fuck, man, I thought we were going to do it the COVID-19 way so that I can attend and it is a safe alternative. And unfortunately right now it's just like, I don't know what the fuck to tell you. Contact Justin Smith and let him know he's a little bitch.
And please quote me.
And please quote me. And at this,
he's retarded.
and at this point, like, take it for what you will, but it's just like this is the opinion based off of the information that we're receiving.
Yeah,
like it's no longer me trying to be malicious. It's no longer me trying to be an asshole. Like I'm not trying to run him out of office. I don't give a fuck how you guys vote the next election. I just want him to fucking read the CRS.
Right. All right. Hard left. Switch
Hard left.
gears.
We need to.
Okay. This is Entremont, which is a palate cleanser before we move on to the next topic. Did you know that Jeff Bezos
is a bitch?
CEO of Amazon. Do you know what he currently has in front of his house as a quasi lawn ornament?
A big penis?
A guillotine.
What?
The protesters have set up a guillotine in front of Jeff Bezos's DC house.
All right.
It's not a real one. Or if it is a real one, it's probably the cheap Chinese knockoff of a guillotine. From what I'm looking at here, it doesn't
look conversion.
Yeah. It's guillotine with two N's. Yeah. So
no E.
No E. Yeah, no E. This is a weird time. This is a weird time, man. I don't know if you've been on Amazon.
What are they protesting him for, though?
Him taking advantage of the workers.
Oh.
Yeah. So.
Well, his commercial says they're not.
No. They care about Black lives. That's what the commercials say.
That's what the commercial says. He pays them more. And
yeah, he probably has not coughed up enough money yet. This is a pretty well-known tactic. I bet you Joel will chime in on this. This is a pretty well-known tactic pioneered, as far as I know, by Jesse Jackson, which is extorting companies for money by outing them as not supporting socially acceptable causes. As soon as Bezos coughs up enough money, I'm sure he'll get left alone. But this is just an extortion racket, just like the mob.
Well,
I'm sorry, the mafia.
And that's the horrendous thing about this shit is, so you see it going on with the Redskins. It's
I'm sorry, who?
The Redskins?
I don't know any team called the Redskins anymore.
Well, they don't have a name, so until we come up with the name, we'll keep calling them the Redskins. So that particular team, if I've never seen like a big thing by Native Americans. Like I've never heard and I here I go with this fucking bullshit. But I've interacted with the shit ton of them. I've had friends, and not once in talking about sports, because although I don't follow sports too much, shit comes up. Like sports comes up, Thanksgiving, shit like that. Not once have any of them been like, oh, that's fucked up. I hate that team because of that particular name. However, to your point, there's always a group that's like, nah, we're just not getting paid enough. And it doesn't help who it needs to help.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't help who it needs to go to. Like Jesse Jackson doesn't need money.
It's multi-million-dollar virtue signaling. It's not just somebody getting on Twitter and be like, I was wrong. I need to confess my sins to the internet. This is
correct.
This is virtue signaling as an industry.
Correct.
And an industry makes somebody a lot of money.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like it just like now they're talking about that company Goya and shit like that. Like I'm not gonna see that money. Like I know a lot of Mexican families that.
How would you feel if there was a professional football team called the let's figure out a borderline term here.
The taco
use.
shop?
How about no, that wouldn't work. I was going to say the taco eaters, but it's not going to work.
Like I get the point. Like I get
Yeah.
the point.
So a borderline term.
Yeah.
What is a borderline term?
Yeah. I don't know.
Short fat Mexicans. How about that?
Short family.
There is a professional football team called the Short Fat Mexicans.
Yeah.
Would this please you more than it would offend you? I'm just asking you. I'm not saying you speak for everybody.
Yeah, I don't speak for all Mexicans. For me, I'd be so indifferent about it that it just wouldn't consume enough of my energy. Like it just
Would you at least be amused?
I think so. I think it'd be one of those things like, yeah, that's just, I guess,
Because
funny.
I'm not trying to say it's okay. I'm not trying to say there's anything wrong with it.
Correct.
I'm not trying to say either one. I'm really not.
Correct.
But these Native Americans have the Braves, the Indians, the Chiefs, the Blackhawks.
The Blackhawks. Yeah.
What do you have?
Not
you
a
have-
fucking thing.
You have nothing.
Nothing.
You don't even have a burrito on a flag. Like Toronto has the Maple Leafs, you
Maple
know? Like you don't have a cactus team. You don't have the
Oh, that'd be amazing.
the Arizona Swarrows.
Oh, that would be dope.
I mean, it would be getting close.
Dude, that would actually make me happy.
Okay.
If we had a team that were
and
oh,
the logo on the side of the helmet is a saguaro cactus with a sombrero on it.
that would be fucking pimping.
And
I'm
a
actually
machine gun.
for that shit. I'm actually for that
You
shit.
see, it's like, okay, yeah, redskin may or may not be a slur. I've never talked to a Native American about it.
And here's the thing. To be clear on my end, in my opinion, they're the only ones that have a say on that shit.
Yeah. Also,
Like-
the people who invested all the money in the team.
Yeah, like that. That's not my, like I'm here to listen to that conversation, but I've learned in my young tender age that sometimes and I've learned this through the Karens, and usually it's pretentious white fucking liberals that are on this campaign of they're on their sorry campaign. So in their apology campaign, they look at a Mexican and they say, "Hey, Mexican, you can't say any Mexican things because that's racist."
Oh,
Like,
how about the black people getting beat up for not complying with the roadblocks
yeah, by the pretentious white liberals
by
that
the
are
pretentious white liberals? Yeah.
that are on the apology campaign. I seen one now, whether I don't even know if I agree with this shit or not, to be honest with you. I haven't given it enough thought, but this individual was covering up tagging. It wasn't even Black Lives Matter shit like that. Like it was at a business and the dude happened to be black, but he was cleaning it, and here comes some pretentious fucking white liberals, Antifa types. Like, what the fuck you doing, you bitch? Like, leave that shit. Like, dude, like, it's just, I'm just trying to clean up. Like, that's all I'm trying to do. Like, fucking clean up. So attacking this dude, like, it's just like at some
so I
point, see that hypocrisy. Like, you're telling me not to be racist, so stop acting the way I want to act.
So I have a video that I found, a mural, quote unquote, a mural was painted in Boston on a wall in this neighborhood, and it was a Black Lives Matter mural. Now, essentially, it looks like graffiti, but it's not graffiti. If you know graffiti and
Correct.
you know tagging, and
Yeah.
you see this, it's
Correct.
somewhere in between tagging and artistic graffiti.
Correct.
So, yeah, okay, you could make the argument that this is somewhat artistic, and this is an actual protest, but it is on private property.
Private property.
So it's an old white couple. And
Yeah.
when I say old, I mean like old enough that you're wondering why they're out by themselves, you know, and one of them has a can of black spray paint because the wall that this is painted on is black.
Yeah.
So he has a black spray paint, and they're acting like two kids who have never done this before. The woman is the lookout, the guy is spray painting, and they literally like a car drives by and they stop, turn, and face the street. The guy's got his hands behind his back to hide the spray paint can, acting like nothing is happening. It is the dumbest thing. If I saw kids doing this, I'd be like, that's stupid. Like,
You're retarded.
you're retarded.
Yeah.
So, but here's the point. There are almost no black people in Boston.
Yeah, I heard
Okay.
it's pretty racist.
It may or may not be racist. It's more like that old school Northeast racist, which is basically Irish hate everybody who's not Irish, and Italians hate everybody who's not Italian. It's that kind of racist. You know, it's not like white people racist. It's more of the ethnic group racist. But there's not a lot of black people up there. I would bet everything I own that mural was painted by a white person.
White person, yeah.
In a white gentrified neighborhood. When I say gentrified, it's definitely an up and coming neighborhood.
Yeah.
And the people they're interviewing in the video about the damage to the mural are white people.
Yeah.
And they're doing this, they're talking about this, and behind them are walls covered in tagging. And they're like, I don't think it's right that these people came in here and painted over this. That's vandalism. Like, dude, your bar that you own behind you is covered in graffiti.
Correct.
and not the artistic kind, you know?
Yeah.
And it's probably some quasi redneck meth gang that came through and tagged your neighborhood up.
And that's precisely why I've had to learn how to like just check myself. Like it's just like I don't think I have a say in this. Like I don't think I have in the Redskin thing. Like it's just like I don't think I have a say in this. Like I don't like it when Karen tries to represent my culture and my people, telling me and telling other Mexicans what to do and what not to do, what we're supposed to call each other. That's how we ended up with Latino and Hispanic. Like it was like Mexicans didn't get together. We're like, I'm gonna call myself a Hispanic. Like we didn't do that shit. That shit was done by a fucking Karen back in the I don't know exactly when, so I'm not even gonna pretend to know when. But that's just not a term that Puerto Ricans came up with. It's not a term that Cubans came up with. It's not a term that Mexicans came up with. That shit was given to us by white people. And now if you don't use that shit, holy fuck, you're the devil. Like when I say, oh, I guess you're Mexican. Like I don't know what else. Like right now, I know you're. Oh, I'm from El Salvador. Okay, cool. You're that type of Mexican.
You're a Mexican who cares about telling everybody where you're from.
It's
which is exactly how most white people hear that.
Correct.
Oh, I'm from El Salvador. Okay, I don't care.
I don't care. Yeah, and that's precisely it. Like you're like, and that's why for me, like I've had to learn, like it's not my fight. Like it just simply, it's not that I'm. If a whole shit ton of Native Americans came out and they're like, "Fuck that name," then I'd be like, "Okay, cool. Like I get it. Fuck that name." Like I'm with you, but it's still not my place to speak. Like I'm here with you, but it's not. I can't represent you because I'm not you.
Right.
Like
right.
I'm just not there.
I saw an interview that Lil Wayne did with NBC or something like that.
With Shannon Sharp, is that the one? I think it was on ESPN. But anyways,
was it? No. I think this was a separate interview. I'm going to try to pull it up real quick because he says something in here that I think does a good job of summarizing essentially how I feel about this, which doesn't really matter, but I feel like everybody probably should try to clarify how they feel about it instead of just reacting to everything that comes along.
Was it his conversation about BLM?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he said something pretty poignant, and I'm just having a freaking hard time finding it here. Hold on. There we go. All right. So I'm going to try to get to it without wasting too much time here. Oh, freaking ad. Ah!
You got to pay for that premium.
Yeah, that
Pay
ain't
for
happening.
that premium.
Okay, so here we go.
Pay for that motherfucking premium YouTube, dude.
I am a young, black, rich. If that don't let you know that America understands black matter these days, I don't know what it is. Don't come at me with that dumb man. My life matter.
Boom.
Especially to my.
That's the point right there.
Do you?
He says,
Yeah.
He sits there and he tells this lady, "My life matters," and like to me, that summarizes what I feel about this. Like,
Correct.
Take control and responsibility for your life,
Correct.
and don't let anybody treat you in a way that makes you feel like you don't matter.
Correct.
And stop talking about everybody else.
Correct. Yeah.
Like if we take that responsibility for ourselves, nobody can take that away from you.
And this was brought up on the panel, and my response to it, I forget what the question was, but my reply to it anyways was, we live in a country where, and I hate to say this, but I think it's more white people that does this more than anything else. And I think in your neighborhood, you can probably attest to this, is we went away from people just taking care of their own shit.
Mm-hmm.
So nowadays we have this idea and this mentality that the cops are there to protect my morality. So like if or my personal biases, or even my little quirks. Like if I don't like noise at 2 a.m. and my neighbor's having a party and maybe they're being a little loud, like I feel like I should call the cops to take care of that, instead of me be like, hey, you know what, neighbor, like, what the fuck, fool? Or be like, hey, neighbor, you had a party this week. I'm going to have a party this week. I didn't call the cops on you. How about you shut the fuck up? And you have that conversation with your fucking neighbor about that shit. We went away from that, and now it's just like, I'm going to call the cops on this fucking kid fucking selling lemonade.
Which, by the way, that conversation is way easier to have if you know your neighbors.
Correct.
If you talk to your neighbors.
Correct.
If that's the first conversation you ever have with your neighbors,
Correct.
it is not going to go well.
Correct.
It is not going to go well.
So we went away from that shit. So now we're so reliant on somebody else to take care of our issues, our problems,
all of them.
all of them. Like every yeah.
There's a lot of things that I cannot do for myself. A lot.
Yeah.
I will call somebody if I need to. But
yeah.
The older I get, the more I realize, like, no, you could probably do this if you just tried.
Correct.
You know?
Yeah.
And especially once you pay somebody to do it and you realize that how terrible of a job they did, and you're like, I could have done the same job for free. Like, I don't know if I could have fixed it or not, but I could have done that.
and that's kind of where we're at. So we have zero responsibility, and when you have no responsibility, there's no emotion attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
There's just nothing. So it doesn't matter what happens to your neighbor if you call the cops on them, because you're not the one that did it. All you did was do what you were told and dial a fucking little magic number, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
So you have zero emotion. But now if I go to the neighbor, now I'm somewhat emotionally invested in all of this stuff, good or bad, by the way, because I run the risk of the neighbor saying, hey, fuck you, I'm not going to listen to you.
Mm-hmm.
Then it could potentially start a feud between you guys. But either way, like, you are personally responsible to fix that shit.
Right.
Like you, I mean,
so let's play out the feud scenario. Let's play out the feud scenario, because that's what everybody's worried about, right? That's the reason. That's one of the major reasons why people don't do that. So I don't want to have a problem with my neighbor, so I'll just get the cops to deal with it.
Yeah.
Well, the cops are not going to deal with it.
Correct.
They're going to come by once.
We must have pissed off a lot of motherfuckers.
Yeah.
that should drop.
They're going to come by once, and they're going to be like, yeah, people, I don't like this.
I don't like
this. They're going to come by. There's a 50-50 chance they're not even going to solve the problem.
Yeah.
And now your neighbors know that somebody narked on them.
Correct.
And the situation has not changed. Now, if you go to them and you talk to them and they don't like what you say to them and they yell and scream at you, okay. But for it to turn into a feud, you need two people to participate.
Correct.
So if you choose to take the responsible route, which is to treat them like a human being and still respect yourself and take care of yourself, but understand you all have to share the same space. So your best interest is to not continue a feud. It's just to keep trying to share the same space. You know, you have a much better chance of solving the problem than the cops do.
Yeah. Yeah. And here's the thing, there's been times where it's just like, I fear the feud. So I've had neighbors in the past, right now where we're staying at some townhomes, which is surprisingly fucking quiet for what it is. Like almost scary quiet for what it actually is. Like makes you wonder what the fucking president of the HOA does to every motherfucker that gets out of line.
There's a secret council that just eliminates those people.
Like it's just no, for real. Like when you go there, like it is like eerily quiet, dude. Like it's just like what the fuck, and there's kids and shit like that. I think there's like once or twice where some kids slightly late at night were being like, "Oh, fucking 4th of July." That shit was pretty bonkers. But I'm sure every neighborhood this year was pretty bonkers.
Did you see that video of LA?
Even the Denver one was pretty fucking crazy, dude.
My heart swelled with pride.
Yeah,
I was
absolutely.
like, this is America. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm childish Gambino over. This is America. Look at all them fireworks.
So like, and there's been times where it's just like, you know what, I have two options: go out there and be the grumpy old man that tells people shut the fuck up, which is internally what I want them to do, or I'm just gonna live with it because it's gonna die down in a couple hours, and I need to man up and just acknowledge the fact that noise happens. Like it just happens. I can't control that and get mad at it every single time. So there's the internal issue that I have an issue that I need to deal with. And I need to learn patience, and I need to learn understanding, and I need to learn that we do share the same space, and they have every right to have their parties just like I have every right to have my parties. So there's that internal struggle. And also, I don't want the argument.
Yeah.
So for me, because of those two things, 9 out of 10 times, just like I'm just not going to say anything.
Well, you're making a value decision in the moment. You're prioritizing one thing over the other. Do I really want to have this argument, or do I want them to shut up? Like,
Yeah.
which one am I okay with them making noise if I don't have to have the argument, or do I hate the noise enough to make the argument worth it?
And for me personally, nowadays is just like, why do I hate the noise? Like
Right.
I also need to analyze why I hate the noise.
So
And internally,
ultimately, though, the decision rests with you, not with
Correct.
somebody else.
Correct.
It's like whatever I decide, I have to be prepared to live with.
correct.
And for me, like, I don't like having those confrontations. I hate having those confrontations. So when I decide not to go outside and talk to them, I have to be like, yeah, you're kind of a pussy. That's okay.
But you didn't need that.
This is the price you need to pay. This is the price you need to pay. You got to listen to them light these fireworks off for a while. That's the price. If you're not willing to pay the price, then
Stop being a pussy and go out there.
yeah. And actually, that really wakes you up a lot faster, because you either realize something about yourself, or you decide you don't want to be that person. So when I went to talk to my neighbors a few weeks ago after the crazy
Seizure.
police situation, with 15 cops out in front of the house, I had that conversation with myself. I'm like, are you going to go talk to them, or are you going to just be a pussy? And I'm like, you know what? Right now, it's more important for me to go talk to them. So that's what I did. And it was awkward. Oh, my God, it was awkward.
Yeah.
And I still don't know if they think that I was just coming over to spy on them or not, you know. But I was like, look, how are you going to feel about yourself tomorrow
Correct.
with the decision you make,
Correct.
And
I want to address Casey Monson's statement. It's not about the 4th of July. It's just this is weekend parties. We use 4th of July as the example, but this is like every weekend, or really anything in life.
Anything in life, anything. Because if you want to complain about what the government is doing, or like, what are you doing? What are you really doing that you could do? I mean, I realize that there's things that you can't do, but there are a lot more things that you could do.
Correct.
That you're not doing.
Yeah. And then to Joel's thing, at what point is infringement of your peace crossing the line? I think that's obviously 100% personal, but at the same time, I think with everything, I have to analyze why it bothers me. Like I have to. I'm the type of individual that is so fucking broken. Like I don't. If you hear this podcast, if you've been hearing us from the beginning, if you know me personally, I am such a broken individual. Parents kicked me out when I was 13 years of age. I got married when I was 15. I was a complete fucking dick to my wife. Our first maybe 2-3 years really didn't get any better until maybe our 5 or 6. She could probably tell you something different. I don't know her experience. That's just my experience. And at some point, I had to ask myself, like, what the fuck is my problem? At some point you get sick and tired of thinking that it was somebody else's issue. And I have to understand, like, why is it that it bothers me? Like, I have to. There's shit that I get mad at right now. And then later on, I'm like, what the fuck was wrong? Like what's up? And it's that internal struggle is just like, before I look at anything else, I have to wonder, like, why does it bother me? How did my mom not hugging me affect the situation? How did whatever, my dad being a piece of shit affect the situation? How did a cousin doing whatever affect the situation? Like, it's just every single time. And I think that's what most people need to understand is, before anything else, I think you need to analyze why it is even affecting you the way it is affecting you. Because obviously there's an internal struggle.
There's always an internal struggle, and you're not going to get anywhere if you don't fight that struggle first.
Yeah.
So Joel's question, at what point is infringement of your peace crossing the line? The better you know yourself, the better you can answer that question.
Correct. Yeah.
Because, like, just to use a concrete example, like the fireworks, dude, that started in May. The fireworks in my neighborhood started in May, and they've been going ever since.
They still going?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, they're not crazy like on 4th of July, but
Yeah.
every night. And I it's not gunshots.
Have you seen that meme? Fucking fireworks must have been one for buy one, get 200,395 free.
I think it's the Chinese again. I actually saw a news story that said it, the importation of fireworks is down by like 1/3 or 2/3 or something. I'm like, no way. No way that's true.
Who the fuck made all these?
Yeah, that's another Chinese media company spreading rumors that are not true. So it's annoying. It's annoying. But
Yeah.
is it enough of annoying for me to make a stink about it? Well, I'm still getting.
You know what? I hope it doesn't change.
Well, yeah, there's a certain amount of respect I have for people who are just like, this is a stupid law, and I'm not going to follow it.
Yeah.
Like, Wuhan fireworks, yeah. And then on the 4th of July, any amount of irritated I get, I have to understand there's at least 50% of me is just jealous.
That you didn't buy any?
That I didn't buy any, and then I don't, like, I have a few, but I, like, I'm just jealous, man. I love fireworks.
Yeah.
I love fireworks more than I love guns.
Yeah.
No lie. Yeah. I get so much more joy out of fireworks than I do out of guns.
Dude, you got like 1 million pounds of fucking gunpowder too.
I know. I could make some whiz poppers. Some real whiz poppers, that's for sure. So, like, yeah, the infringement of your peace crossing the line, like, just to give you an example, I have some neighbors behind us who have a teenage boy, and he came to my door. This was like a year ago, maybe. Yeah. And he's like, I wasn't home. I think it was at work. But I caught him on my Ring camera. He comes to my door, and I'm talking to him through the camera, and he's like, I dropped something in your backyard, and I was wondering if I could go get it. I'm like, I'll be home in a couple hours. I'll get it for you. What is it? He's like, it's weed. I'm like, okay. All right. So, I get it. And I get it back to him, and he's like, thanks, man. I go, hey, no problem, but don't let that happen again.
Yeah.
Otherwise it will be a problem.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, okay. And then, like, a couple weeks later, I find 3 beer bottles in my backyard.
Yeah.
That obviously came from him. I'm like, all right, man, I warned you. And I launched those suckers back over the fence. And I was like, I hope your parents find these. And, like, that infringement of my peace, like, is it a big deal to me? No, but I have kids.
Correct.
And I'm looking out for my kids. If I didn't have kids and that was happening, I'd be annoyed, but I'd be like, yeah, it's no big deal.
Correct.
I mean, I was a kid once,
Correct.
But in that situation, that's a different threshold, And Michael Aguilera just, I think, invited me to his house next 4th of July. I'm there, dude. Says, same here. I love fireworks more than my guns. So, yeah, I'm coming. I'm coming to your house, dude.
Hell yeah. Oh, and Michael, too. You guys already linked up.
Do I? I'm
you
retarded.
You get a shirt.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Okay. Yeah, I'll come by. I'll bring some. I'll bring my own
Homemade,
homemade.
homemade shit.
Homemade. Yeah. So I wanted to talk about people blocking traffic. I want to know if you've been asked this question in your class. In the class, have people asked you, what am I allowed to do? What would you do if somebody surrounds your car and you feel threatened? And I
So
feel like this question is coming from a place of a lot of people are looking for a reason to hurt somebody.
yes, and that's usually what we got to address. It's just like your definition of feeling threatened.
So
Is that somebody at your fucking door? Is that somebody yelling at you? Is that somebody? Because we got to distinguish that. And I think I've heard a few feelings in saying this. Is just like at some point I got to realize that I may not agree with the way it's going, but it's also shitty that an entire population has been oppressed for more than a few centuries.
mhm.
So at some point, I got to make that conscious connection of like, well, this is fucked up. Like I'm just trying to get to work. I'm trying to get to a restaurant. I'm trying to get to whatever. So I got to, again, make that decision. Am I going to like try and cut to the front of the line, antagonizing these people potentially, hurting somebody potentially, is where I need to get to really that crucial and that important. So for me personally, very few times would it be that crucial to get anywhere.
So
So
my questions have been from people who genuinely seem concerned about this.
Yeah.
But there's also an attitude of like, I will kill whoever I have to kill to get
to 7-Eleven.
where I'm going. And so I've had to tell people, like, you are asking an incredibly complex question.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do my best to answer this the best way I can
Correct.
in the moment. But I have to preface this by saying I'm talking about myself right now.
Correct.
First, I'm going to answer from a legal perspective. If somebody is threatening you with serious bodily harm, death, kidnapping, or sexual assault, you can use deadly force against them.
Correct.
That's all the law says. It doesn't say a certain number of people have to be in front of your car. It doesn't say people touching your window. That's all it says. So if you're looking for a legal justification, I can't really put that in
Correct.
context for every moment. But I'll tell you what, for me, if I'm by myself, it's a different answer than I'm with my family.
Correct.
If I feel like I'm sitting there in traffic to let people have an 8.5 minute temper tantrum so that they can stand in the street while I got to get to where I'm going, that's one thing. If I feel like, if I have my family in the car and I feel like people are potentially going to hurt me, I'm going to take different action.
Correct.
And the first thing I'm going to do is use my car to leave.
Correct.
Leave in a way that doesn't hurt anybody.
Correct.
But if I feel like my family's in danger, this is not about a protest at this point. This is
it's about
it's not about these are Marxists. It's not about any of that. It's like I got my kids in the back seat and you are not going to hurt me or my family.
You're throwing fucking bricks in the car.
Right. And so it's impossible for me to answer that question in a way that really I think answers it for what they want to hear.
And that's the fucking key right there. It is, I think a lot of these people want reaffirmation for them wanting to kill somebody.
Assert their dominance.
Or like it just, and I've had to express this a lot, like especially when people are like, yeah, but no, wait a minute, like what you want me to do is give you justification to kill somebody, and I just can't.
Yeah.
Like and not only is it irresponsible from an ethical standpoint, it's still irresponsible from a legal standpoint. Also, there's over 100,000 different variables that can come into play at any given moment. So it's irresponsible just from the instruction side of point to just tell you, oh, this is what, because it's not so black and white. Like that shit's grayer than a motherfucker.
I have seen lots of videos of protesters attacking cars and people responding by driving over them. But you don't see videos of protesters surrounding cars and not doing anything. Nobody's posting those videos.
Yeah.
because they're not interesting. So my perception of the situation is that most of the time they're not looking to do anything bad. However, I know that I'm prepared to handle the situation if they are doing something bad.
Correct.
But I gotta humanize this too.
Correct.
I went downtown for my anniversary a couple weekends ago, and our hotel turned out to be a block away from the hobo camp that is now Civic Center Park. And there are a bunch of entitled trust fund hippies that are walking around blocking intersections. These people are not helping anybody. They are what we were talking about. They're entitled white people who think that they can tell black people how to feel. And this annoys me to a huge extent. Like, it really, really annoys me way more than it should, probably.
Correct.
I'm just going to admit that. Like, I overreact about that. And
I think you and I have a big issue with entitled human beings.
Yeah.
Period.
And so I was fully prepared to let my wife drive downtown because I knew that I might just lose my temper and do something stupid. I'm not saying run over a crowd of people, but create a problem that didn't need to be a problem.
Correct.
You know, and like there's the human aspect of it. I'm going to tell you all day long what the law says, and I'm going to protect my family and everything. But dude, like, I do not like people telling me what to do. And if I feel like I'm being surrounded by a bunch of no job having losers who are trying to tell me what to do, I'm going to take it personally.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be happy about it.
Correct.
And I'm not saying that's right, but I'm trying to be self-aware here, trying to realize that there is definitely a potential for me to get more angry than I should.
Yeah.
And I need to be prepared for that too.
Correct.
You know.
And Darrell, if you don't follow him, I just got to clear some things up here. But Rel, if you don't follow him, Glock Don't Lock, he runs Glock Don't Lock on IG. And then what the fuck's your Fully Loaded Clip? Sorry, Fully Loaded Clip.
Yeah,
that's his blog. You ought to check that shit out. He says, "Yep, the white liberal is the worst." One of the things I got to say is some of my best friends are white liberals.
Now you don't hear that every day.
You don't hear that every day. So I do have to be careful, me personally, in making that blanket statement that all white liberals are like this. But if you do want to find, Malcolm X has a great video about this shit. I think we tried sharing it when Darrell was on. We do have to be careful with these apologetic individuals who 9 out of 10 times turn out to be the Karens of the world, the people who are so mad about what the U.S. has done wrong that are actually more oppressive than anything else. They're the person that is going to call the cops on the Mexican for doing Mexican shit because she feels like Mexicans doing Mexican shit is racist. And then, or black people doing black culture thing because she feels that this shit's racist. So, like, we definitely have to acknowledge that the people. It's basically that understanding that this is fucked up. But when I was a Republican, one of the things that was told to me was just not all Republicans are racist, but it seems like all races are Republicans. It's kind of the same thing with the white pretentious liberal. Like, they're not all of them are like that, but the people who tend to be like that happen to be pretentious white liberals.
Yeah. So I wanted to follow up with that Malcolm X quote because it was important, like the Malcolm X is telling people, hey, watch out for those white liberals who pretend to be on your side because they're not. And Republicans love that quote.
Yeah.
They love it. They're like, that's right. Even your hero is telling you you're wrong, But, dude, you got to listen to some of the other things he says. Because he says, a Republican would be racist to your face.
Correct. And that was the point. And that was 100% the point, is when he says that, it's just like, at least I know where I stand with the Republican.
Right. You're not off the hook, though.
Correct. Yes.
And it's, again, it's not because you're Republican. It's like just, the out and out, flat out racists tend to be Republicans.
Correct. And yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a fantastic point.
Because I fell into that trap too. I was like, oh, Malcolm X, yeah, and then I was like, hey, this is just one statement he made.
Correct.
I mean, he wrote volumes about the racism that goes on, the systemic racism that goes on in the country. He's not saying it doesn't exist.
Correct.
He's saying the people who say they're on your side aren't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The point was, like, I know to be careful with this motherfucker.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know to stay away from this motherfucker.
Right.
But the sneaky motherfucker over here,
yeah,
like, that's the one that I really have to worry about. Because yeah, absolutely.
And I don't have a clip of that, but I did hear it recently, and I was like, yeah, don't forget. Don't forget, and Malcolm X he's one of those people, you could say he's right, you could say he's wrong, but I really, from everything I've heard from him, I trust that he is saying exactly what he thinks. He's not being controlled. Martin Luther King was controlled to a great extent. Yeah. I'm not saying he wasn't a good guy. I'm not saying he wasn't fighting for a good cause, but he was groomed from a young age to be what he was.
I'm going to say something. This was an idea that was presented to us over the weekend. And I'm not going to say it.
Come on. Was it presented publicly?
No, it was presented in an intimate moment, but I'll talk to you later.
Okay. Yeah.
But there's a particular person in the gun industry who is basically that idea, where it's just like, you have to be groomed and you have to appease both sides, and you have to and it made sense. It's just like you need that person.
You do need a leader. You do need a symbol. You do need somebody to rally around where everybody can take them as like an archetype. Like,
correct.
This is the archetype. This is the ideal we're going to follow. Nobody is that person.
Correct.
Nobody on their face. Nobody genuinely is that person. You need a symbol, and that person is never going to fully live up to that, but they don't necessarily have to.
So MLK was probably more of the I could get everybody for the most part together.
Yeah.
Not 100%, but almost everybody. And then you had Malcolm X as like, yeah, motherfucker.
He could never be that person.
No. Yeah, this motherfucker was like, y'all are full of shit.
Tupac was that. Tupac was like that too.
Yeah.
He was that real person. Now I tend to think that he also was bipolar, but that's kind of beside the point.
Yeah.
He was that real person, and he couldn't be that mainstream voice. You need both. You really do need both, but you got to have both. You got to have a mainstream voice.
Correct.
And that mainstream voice is going to be corrupted to some degree by the interests and the handlers.
Correct.
I mean, shoot, after Martin Luther King died, Jesse Jackson's out there talking about how him and Martin Luther King were brothers, And it's like, the guy his body wasn't even cold yet, and he's already getting co-opted by some evil force.
Correct.
And it's like, it's unavoidable when you are that person. But if you're the guy who's speaking the truth, who doesn't care what anybody thinks, you are tainted in your own way, because your message does not appeal to the masses. Yeah. So Joel says, not at first. X changes his views a little after his trip to Mecca. Yeah, I mean, that's another thing, is you don't control the message when you have somebody like Malcolm X, and it can change over time. And, it can be subject to his own influences and things like that. Whereas when you have somebody like Martin Luther King and that message is controlled, that's a lot less likely to happen.
Yeah.
I was listening to a podcast where he was talking about Tupac and how much he changed after death row. He was kind of forced to embody this kind of like ultra criminal persona, where realistically he was more down to earth as a quasi criminal persona.
Well, and the let's be clear, it was a persona.
Right.
Like it was a persona that this is where I think it was where, and not too many people like me because I say this, but and it's not an original idea. Like I heard somebody say this because myself, like many, growing up in the hood. You listen to. I mean, I'm wearing my Notorious shirt because you grew up listening to this Bone and Tupac and like you just grew up with the Wu-Tang Clan. Like this is who we grew up looking up to and talking about. And then I was talking about hip hop to somebody. I'm not the biggest hip hop head, but like I love hip hop. Like I love the culture. That's kind of what we grew up on. And this idea that Tupac actually hurt the black community and inner city more than he healed, more than he gave a good thing. If you listen to his first few albums, like that was cool. And then here comes Death Row. He goes to jail. Here comes Death Row. And then he starts presenting the thug life. And it was just like, it was no longer a positive thing. It was now I'm a fucking killer thing. Well, that doesn't do any good for the message. It doesn't do any good for what Public Enemy is trying to do. It doesn't do any good for what Eric B is trying to do. It doesn't do like it doesn't justify going to that lengths. It's no longer a good thing what you're doing. You may be quote unquote raw, but at some point, just because you're raw doesn't make you real.
Let's not forget how young he was too.
Yeah,
this is another thing that people forget.
Like 23?
You know? Yeah, I mean, I think he was 24 when he died, or
either way, 20s.
Yeah, and now it's not to say that people who are young couldn't. He was 25 when he died. It's not to say people who are young don't have interesting viewpoints, you know, or interesting experiences. I mean, the guy's mom was a Black Panther, you know, but let's not forget that these guys are young. And Malcolm X lived longer than Martin Luther King, I think. I think he was older than Martin Luther King when he died. And, you know, his views changed over time. His rhetoric changed over time. But, you know, like, we can't take everything these people say as, like, the wisdom of the ages.
Correct.
You know, you got to remember, what were you doing when you were 25 years old?
Raising 3 kids.
All right, what else were you doing?
You
were running for...
I was running for office, that's right.
Running for office. Now, that might seem like a mature thing to do, but it's pretty far away from where you are right now, right? Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty monumental shift from 25-year-old Edgar to 35-year-old Edgar.
Correct.
So, and if you had asked 25-year-old Edgar, like, you know, how serious are you about this? You'd be like, I'm dead serious about this.
Yeah.
And now 35-year-old Edgar is like, that 25-year-old Edgar was a moron.
Fucking idiot.
You know, there's a movie that I really like called SLC Punk, and there's a line at the end of the movie where the main character, he says, if the guy I was then met the guy I am now, he would kick my ass.
He'd kick my ass.
Not the other way around.
And
Not
I think
the other way around. It's the young guy kicking the old guy's ass because he's sold out.
Yeah.
You know?
No, it's interesting to have these fucking conversations to understand. And here's the thing. The reason we have these conversations for a lot of times is like, man, like I think it's not very exciting, but I just had this conversation with somebody on Instagram. And it was the whole Maj being transphobic thing. I had to explain to him, like, listen, like I've met with the dude, I've talked with the dude. That doesn't mean a whole lot. Yeah, my pull-out game is trash. It's and I've got 4 kids now. I was raising 3 kids by the time I was 21, but I've got 4 kids now. But anyways, his comment was like, oh, it's too bad Maj is doing this. So my reply to him, like, basically show your work. Like, you got to show me what the fuck you mean. And he was like, well, Maj has made some of these things. It's like, well, it's just such a complex conversation to have. Like, you can't just say Maj said this, but you got to understand context. You got to understand intent. You got to understand what conversation was had before then that led up to this. Like you got to understand all that stuff. Like we had I can't remember her name right now. What the fuck's her name? Mile High Gun Girl.
Oh, Courtney.
Yeah, we had Courtney on, and I feel like we still have a lot more to talk about. There's still
we got to get her back on.
Like, there's still a lot of conversations. There's still a lot of questions. There's still a lot of issues. Not only just Courtney, but having other trans people on the podcast, because it's such a complex issue. So to cancel somebody based off of one tweet, one soundbite, like, it's just incorrect, because it's such a complex conversation. And sometimes, like, we do this all the time. Like
Hickok 45. You should see the hate for Hickok 45 on AR15.com. That man is universally despised by those people.
AR15.com.
You know why? Because he supported the bump stock ban.
Oh, yeah.
This guy has, by himself, introduced more people to more guns, more gun safety,
right,
more correct gun thinking than probably anybody else on YouTube.
Yeah.
And he has one opinion that conflicts with the mainstream 2A community. And
did you really support it?
Yeah, I guess so. I didn't see the video, but everybody said that he supported the bump stock ban after the Vegas shooting.
Yeah.
I didn't verify. I don't have to verify. I don't care. The point is that he has one conflicting view with the mainstream, the quote unquote mainstream gun community. He's canceled.
Yeah.
He's canceled. And it's like, you blame liberals for doing this, for canceling people. You're doing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
You are not willing to tolerate anything outside of your perspective. Correct.
And not only that, not understanding the entire conversation is just this age of we're in this age of headlines. People just read the headlines. They're like, oh, I just read the whole article. Like, no, motherfucker. Like, did you read the whole motherfucking article?
Well,
like,
at this point, it doesn't even matter if you do, because there's nothing useful in the article anyway. It's like, you like trapped, like, well, you're going to read the whole article. Like, it's not going to help.
Yeah. So you read the headline and then you just run with it. And it's just like, well, I guess you didn't really do the homework. You read a headline.
You consider yourself informed.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Just like it's wrong. So even with the whole Maj issue, with the Hickok, with Tupac, with our conversations, we'll come back next week and we'll say something different. People are like, what the fuck? You changed your mind? Like, yeah, we just got to change our mind. Last week or the last time.
Go ahead.
Like last time you were talking about reparations and how you've kind of switched on that shit a little bit.
I've definitely entertained the idea, which
Correct.
Apparently is heresy among listeners of podcasts.
One of the I've changed my position on how I feel about the statue situation. We were having dinner on Saturday. We were having lunch after the panel, and that conversation was brought up, the symbols and statues and shit like that. Like, that challenged my new thought and shit like that. Like, it's just part of the growth process. Like, I'd hate that a conversation that we have today, 10 years from now, is the conversation that people play. Be like, well, see, Edgar did this and Isaac did that. It was just like, no, we're just having a conversation, trying to keep you motherfuckers entertained while you fucking wash your balls or watch TV or whatever, working or whatever the fuck you're doing. But at the same time, like, internally growing and hopefully it teaches people all at the same time.
I think you got to treat ideas and discussions of ideas like a gladiator arena. And how are you going to know who's going to win and who's going to lose if you don't let them fight? you know?
Yeah.
And you got to do that in your own head too.
Yep.
Like, you think you're born with all the right ideas in your head?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but that's retarded.
Correct.
So I got to. I'm going to play this clip because Joel wanted me to play it. So I'm going to hit it up.
He
Hold on a
is
second.
forcing you to play it.
He's forcing me.
Forcing
There
you.
are many whites who are trying to solve the problem, but you never see them going under the label of liberals. That white person that you see calling himself a liberal is the most dangerous thing in the entire Western Hemisphere. He's the most deceitful. He's like a fox, and a fox is always more dangerous in the forest than the wolf. You can see the wolf coming. You know what he's up to, but the fox will fool you. He comes at you with his mouth shaped in such a way that even though you see his teeth, you think he's smiling, and you take him for a friend.
But Malcolm.
Whoa! I'm glad I caught that at the end. I wanted to play out some music there. Woo! Back that off a little bit. Thank you, Joel, for posting that. And I put that in the show notes. So I wanted to take a pause here as we get near the end of the episode and thank a couple people. Everybody who's in the chat room right now on Facebook and on YouTube, big thank you for participating. Just keeping the conversation going and making fun of Edgar's pull-out game, posting links and all that stuff. Every link that's relevant to the show is in the show notes. You can find it at sayIwon't.live, the new episodes. Also, we got to thank our we call them producers of the show. I'm stealing this model from Adam Curry, the founder or the Podfather. If you don't know who Adam Curry is, you need to look him up. But we have two people who helped us produce the show, and I'm going to go ahead and name them. Hopefully they don't take offense at me outing them and their anonymity. Tom Snyder and David Mays donated to help make this episode happen. We've been doing this show for a long time.
Yeah.
Like, longer than I ever thought that we would, for sure.
5 years, 6 years?
I would say 5 at least.
5 years.
Yeah, we're in season 3, but we've been doing it for 5 years. I was thinking about going ahead and changing this to season 4 already since we had a break, but there would only be like 8 episodes in season 3. So I've been doing this a while, and we've kind of performed half-assed attempts to solicit sponsors, but honestly, I don't think that we could take sponsors. Nah. Number one, I mean, we'll promote people who like people like TJ, who have supported us over the years, you know, and promote companies that have helped us out and stuff like that. But that's not a sponsor. That's more like a producer or a partner. But no gun company is going to come to us and be like, oh, you guys want to talk about how Black Lives Matter is possibly right about something? Like, that ain't going to happen. Yeah. So we need to rely on our listeners, and we call them producers. And I wanted to take your lead here and say that Tom and David have officially washed their asses.
Washed their asses.
Their asses have been washed. So all of you who haven't donated, you are the unwashed asses of the Say I Won't family. You are overdue for washing your ass. So on that note, if you're interested in donating, you can go to sayiwon't.live/donate, and you can donate to the podcast. Obviously, this is not all that we do, but we do have to make this worth our own while. Although I do consider this therapy for both of us on some level.
Yeah.
I know you're a busy person. I'm a busy person as well. I do need to make this worth my time, you know.
Absolutely.
And I think people get more out of the show when they help participate.
Well, it's not even that. It is like, outside of making it worth it, like, in order to make it correct for the people, it costs money. In order to, like, the streaming services isn't free. In order to get good internet for this to stream properly, that shit isn't free. It's costly.
As long as we've been doing this, we have lost way more money.
Oh shit! A shit ton more. A shit ton more.
And I enjoy doing this. I do enjoy doing this, but I think people, like, just like with the classes, I tell people in the classes, I say, hey, if you donate to the class, you get to take credit for all of our work. Correct. Because we wouldn't be here without you. And I feel like it's important to support things that you get some value out of.
Correct.
And you get to
wash your
assign.
ass.
You got to wash your ass. You get to assign that value yourself. I mean, they're like people have asked. How many times have people asked you what's the normal donation amount? What's the minimum?
Oh, it
People
happens.
ask all the time. And what's the answer?
Donate whatever you want. I'm not going to tell you.
Whatever you feel like it was worth to you. If that's
Yep.
$3, that's fine. If it's 100, that's fine. If it's like there's no dictate on that. It's up to you. But the point is that it helps you feel like you are participating in something that's valuable to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, anyway, I just wanted to thank Tom and David for their help, and we will. Okay, Joel's like, "How much you want?"
Also,
Joel, I just want your handsome face.
let's plug some of those people. Joel, he runs La Prensa de Colorado. It's a Spanish newspaper.
Can you spell that?
La Prensa, L-A.
Okay.
That's one word, and then Prensa, P-R-E-N-S-A.
La Prensa.
La Prensa.
Okay.
So he runs La
Right.
Prensa. Also, Doohickeys Gifts. Got to bring up Doohickeys Gifts. Those
Doohickeys
motherfuckers.
Gifts.
Yeah. On D's confectionery and specialty, something like that is also their other company. La Prensa de Colorado. Superior Door and Glass. That's Richard. Not Richard Fletcher, but Richard. You know who the fuck I'm talking about.
Yes. The other
Superior,
Richard.
Superior Door and Glass. You guys ought to check him out if you need like bath shit, like bath glass, shower doors, and shit like that. He can hook you with that shit. Yeah. Anyways, big thanks to Gun Owners of America for stepping up this weekend. Really appreciate the support with our legal issues as well. Really appreciate that. Brian DeBouche, who is our attorney. If you guys need help with any legal shit, somebody giving you on the criminal defense side, or a sheriff not accepting your shit, or you need help, whatever criminal defense type stuff, check out the homie. Why the fuck does everybody keep spelling your name wrong, dude?
It's okay. I'm used to it, man.
It's starting to bother me. So
when I order fast food and people are like, "Can I get a name for that?" and I say Isaac, and they're like, "How do you spell it?" I always just tell them however you want to.
However you want to. Like that's like the 19th time, and like I'm starting to fucking twitch over here. And it's not just you, Richard. It's just you, Richard. There's a few other people doing it too. So
and don't feel bad because it was spelled incorrectly on my birth certificate.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So
yeah. So I feel like sometimes I attack Richard a lot, but it's not just you, Richard. It's eyes
sack.
So anyways, Brian DeBouche, who's helping us out, check him out. If you guys don't know about him and what he does, if you got 2A issues, please go check him out. But anyways, I appreciate you guys being here. Appreciate the support, the no support. To the haters, I still have to say thank you so much for that rent-free space in your brain. Shit's wonderful. I do have to say this: you will never ever reach what we have reached. You will never ever accomplish what we have accomplished, and that's why you mad.
That's why you mad. All right, I got something to close this out with. Okay. Did you know that Vladimir Putin has his own motorcycle club?
What?
All right. So there's a motorcycle club based in Russia called the Night Wolves.
The Night Wolves.
The Night Wolves. And this club acts at times as an enforcer for the Kremlin.
What?
Yes. So I was doing a little research because I've been seeing a lot more Sons of Silence around Colorado Springs than I usually do. And so I'm like, well, they must be kind of re-upping or reconsolidating or whatever motorcycle clubs do. If you don't know who the Sons of Silence are, they're a Colorado motorcycle club. They're one percenters. They're bad dudes. I actually knew one for a while. He was a nice guy unless you were not in his little group of family and friends. Yeah, so I guess this motorcycle club is called the Night Wolves, and they are a Russian club that receives funding from the Kremlin. And Yale University historian Timothy Snyder believes it serves as a, quote, paramilitary and propaganda arm of the Putin regime. Now, I haven't verified this, but the claim is enough to get my interest. So in May 2015, Alexei Navalny claimed that the Russian government had given 56 million rubles to the group in the preceding year and a half. In October 2015, Night Wolves received a donation of 12 million rubles from the Russian government to, quote, build a Patriot Youth Center in Crimea.
That's crazy, dude.
Now, that could be Western propaganda against the Kremlin. Who knows? But the mere fact that there is a motorcycle club that's being associated with the Kremlin is cool enough.
Yeah.
So if Vladimir Putin shirtless on a horse was not cool enough for you, imagine him. And there is a picture. I posted a link in let's see,
the show notes.
In the show notes, let me make sure. Yeah, here we go. There is a picture of Putin hanging out with this club.
That shit's crazy, dude.
So if you click on the link and you scroll down to Night Wolves, you'll see a picture of a bunch of bikers, and Putin is right in the middle of them.
It's fucking interesting.
Yes. So I don't know where I find this stuff, but yeah, that's cool as hell. I mean, I know the guy's a dictator and everything, but I don't know. I think it'd be interesting to have him run our country for a year. See how that works out.
Out of all the dictators, he's the less dick.
He's probably the most, but like he's cool.
Yeah. If I got a choice in dictators.
Yeah, if I had a choice in dictators.
I'd ride the fucking bear naked through the woods.
All right, so SayIWon't.live is where you can find the show notes, and thank you guys all for listening. You're all the best.
Peace.
You're all the best.
Out, motherfuckers. Don't forget to wash your ass.
Yes, wash your ass.
Do you got any fucking sound? I always cut you off.
Yeah, sure. Sure. God, this is so clumsy. All right, everybody have a great night.
Edgar, lighten up.